they say Punxsutawney Phil has the elixir of life. This is what Jamie just told us, which means like he's either drinking like adrenochrome in the blood of babies. He's got that like Clinton hookup.
Start talking about adrenochrome on this podcast.
How else is Punxsutawney Phil living 130 years?
God.
God has ordained this groundhog. And he will tell us when it is winter.
What's up, slippers? It's me, Keaton. That's Peter. And we're back with another episode of Glass Slipping. And that's my impression of a YouTuber in 2012.
I don't know if I like that. But we are back.
Many people don't. Few people do like it.
We're here. It has been a while since we filmed together. You wouldn't know if you were just regular viewers of the show, but it's been like a month since we filmed an episode.
I think it has, yeah.
Because we filmed, whenever the Walter episode came out, we filmed that week. But we batched a bunch of episodes together at the beginning of the season. And then went about our merry lives. Sometimes merry, sometimes not
so merry. Yeah, sure.
We've each had a bit of a month and a half, so we figured it'd be good to do a
bit of a recap.
Just talk about
just
where we are.
Be honest about where we are in our lives.
Yeah, and do a little check-in because we think you, the audience, the 6 devoted fans we have, deserve that.
This is like a joke that they do on Seek Treatment, Kat Cohen and Pat Regan's podcast, where they're like the 30 listeners, and now their podcast is massive, but like in the beginning they would be like 30 people really care about this.
And I do really appreciate it. I know there are a couple of you who are really, really diehards.
Love that.
And we appreciate that we're doing this for you
guys,
so that we can continue to deliver to you,
and also for ourselves
weekly, and also for ourselves. Keaton, do you want to talk about your triumphant return to the New York theater scene?
Oh my God, I love when you describe it like that.
Yeah, it's how it should be described.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, I will. I would love to, actually. I did this incredible, there's a series at the 92nd Street Y, which is like a pillar of sort of arts and culture in New York City, which I didn't really know about. I'd done one thing before, actually, while I was doing my Broadway show. I did like this thing with like Seth Rudetsky and Aaron Lazar, I think. We did like a talk or something. I was like 13. They were just like, come do this, whatever. But I hadn't been back. And so I got asked, a good friend of mine, Michael Breslin, shout out, I love you, was directing. They do a series called Lyrics and Lyricists, where they highlight one composer lyricist. Well, I guess just a lyricist, but in this case, it happened to be a composer lyricist. And as most people in musical theater are, I feel, composer lyricist. Depends, I guess.
It depends. I feel like there's really big splits, but a lot of the people who do, I don't know if this is the right way to say this, but I feel like a lot of more egoist-driven writers are like people who do everything.
Yeah. Perhaps
not that's necessarily a bad thing. There are a lot of like incredible
just lyricists
or composers or people who do both. Like
lyrics
talk about
book too.
Yeah, like incredible writers who want to take on the whole burden themselves.
Anyway, yeah, so I got to do this thing. I was asked to do it like a couple months ago, and it actually was kind of like drama because we had to move some daisy dates around that were not easy to reschedule, but everyone was very, very cool about me doing this because I really wanted to, and also the money was good, which is funny because that's originally why I said yes to it, because I was like, oh, the money's great, sure. This concert happened to be highlighting Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent and Tick Tick Boom, and many other shows that never got produced, but yeah, I was just like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll do it, whatever. And I kind of had the feeling, we talked about this, where I kind of had the feeling where it was either going to make me be like, I never want to do theater again, I've absolutely fucked this, or it's going to make me absolutely fall in love with it. Thank God it did have the latter effect. And I just had an absolutely wonderful, lovely little time.
Which we love to hear, because as jaded as we can be about the theater,
I know.
we still have our
you have a moment, and
our warm theater hearts somewhere deep down,
yeah, under like layers of coal. But I think no, it totally brought. Well, I love Rent. I've always loved Rent. I mean, who doesn't? I feel like
especially our
group,
generation,
is so just sort of it's so formative for me.
I think people in Gen Z, some Gen Z might not understand too that like before Hamilton existed, Rent was the previous iteration of that in terms of like mass worldwide. It was
sort of
scale.
The first one to do that, I think.
I don't think so.
Well, not the first one, but the first one maybe for our generation.
Because I think Les Mis did that. I think there have been shows that broke through and were huge
cultural
cultural
phenomenons,
forces.
yeah.
But Rent was from like 96 until Hamilton. It was like the
And
one.
in, relevant in a pop culture way as well, where it's like, touching on like obviously like relevant themes in at the time of it being written, but also like musically, like actually like Seasons of Love was like on the radio.
Yeah, or like it's mentioned in like episodes of like Friends. They're talking about Rent, or or like they do Seasons of Love in The Office. Like
Literally, yeah. Where it's like had this cultural impact that's so important, obviously. And the movie came out in 2000. I'm doing the speech that I did at the show. The movie came out in 2005, and my mom was obsessed with it, and she let me watch it. I was 9.
Well, yeah, and then the film Live on Broadway came out
on Broadway. I
in
talked
like
about
2009.
You didn't see it because you were in LA, but we do like intro speeches, and this is like literally my intro speech. But then the film Live on Broadway came out, which happened while I was in New York, actually. It closed on Broadway in 2008, about 6 months before I got here to the city to do a Broadway show as well. Very, very different vibes. But I missed being able to see it by about 6 months. And that always hurt me. But I did get to see the film live on Broadway. So that was
no, I watched that film live on Broadway so much when I was a kid. Like, because Rent was probably the first musical I remember like really loving, knowing every word to, watching like the bootleg clips of.
Sorry, this is slightly an aside, but it is worth it to say, is that we were talking about in our dressing room. We all shared a dressing room, all 5 of us, and it was that thing that happens when you do something like kind of silly, where everyone's just like really invested because they can be and they want to be.
Yeah.
And it felt like high school theater in the best way, and also you're doing Rent.
Yeah.
So you have that feeling. But anyway, we were talking about the Patti LuPone Hell's Kitchen situation.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody goes, Elle Morgan Lee, shout out, love her as well. Amazing, amazing performer, amazing woman. She says, did you guys see that episode of that podcast? Having no idea it was me. And I go with Philip? And she goes, yeah. And I go, that's my podcast. And she goes, I knew I recognized you from something. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I love that this is my like intro or whatever. It wasn't. I mean, we were like 2 weeks in at that point, but I was like, yes, slay. But yeah, I had an absolutely fantastic experience, much due to Michael Breslin and Megumi Nakamura as well, who was the assistant. Shout out Megumi.
I mean, shout out Michael as well. I just don't know Michael. I've known Megumi since I was 12. So.
Yeah, no, I know.
Bay Area
did an
legend,
amazing job at
Michigan
directing
legend.
this thing, and we did.
Megumi.
Yeah. Shout out.
Shout out.
But it was this like concert, but there was staging, there was dialogue. Like it was like we were doing a full show. We said about 3/4 of Rent and about a quarter of Tick Tick Boom, and so it was just really amazing. I met some amazing fucking people. Like I just had a wonderful time, and I just felt like really grateful. I don't know, this is so weird, but like I don't know if I've ever felt a connection to a composer other than Stephen Sondheim, who's a person I knew physically and like got to do one of his shows on Broadway and got to know him fairly well. And I've always had that connection because I've found myself in a lot of Sondheim shows. I basically say, like, if there's a kid in a Sondheim show, I've done it. And, like, professionally, since I was about 10.
We cannot forget, Keaton does have 2 Sondheim tattoos.
I do. Yeah, I do. And 1 1975 tattoo. I loved that man very much. But, yeah, I don't think that I've ever had a connection to a composer so strongly. And I felt it was because, A, I'd been lucky to do a lot of his work. Both on Broadway and not, but until I did this, and I felt Stephen Sondheim mentored Jonathan Larson for a very long time, sort of unofficially, and you can feel it, like you can feel that connection in a lot of the music, and I think what he did was the way that he reshaped musical theater was very similar to the way that Sondheim reshaped musical theater. And you think about and it's so funny now because now I don't know if I really fit in a Sondheim show. Like, I don't know. I think I could do it, obviously, but I don't think I'm going to be the first person that they're looking at just based on like kind of the way that I look and am. I am, however, going to be the first person they're looking at for Rent. So I feel more connected to that. And I said something in the show where it was like, it was my first exposure really to like a rock musical, which is now where I like live. And it was okay for me to feel that way. Yeah, so I got to meet a lot of people who knew him personally, which was really fucking cool. and who were telling me that he would have like loved me and, you know, whatever, which was also just like so surreal to me because Rent has been something that I've just seen and looked at for so long. I got to be pretty close friends with Adam Cantor, who is the Mark in the Filmed on Broadway, who I just
iconic.
I literally shouted him out in the last episode, but I love you and I'm so happy that we're friends. But yeah, it was just a really, really, really cool all around experience. And I got to do Come to Your Senses from Tick Tick Boom, which was one of my favorite songs of his. And I met Victoria Leacock, who is the woman who posthumously put that song into Tick Tick Boom. Because what we see of Tick Tick Boom produced now is like a very different version. It was called 3090 for a very long time, and it was a rock monologue for Jonathan Larson to perform himself. And he had people come in and out. And it's funny, in the show, it's like all very meta, but in the show, Tick Tick Boom, Stephen Sondheim is the one to kind of tell him that he's missing a song in the second act for the woman of the show Superbia, which is what Tick Tick Boom is about him writing his show Superbia that never had a production. It got produced like for like a couple like private readings at like Playwrights and at the Dramatists Guild, but it never had a full production. And Come to Your Senses was in Superbia, and then it becomes the song that Susan, John's girlfriend, sings in the second act of Tick Tick Boom. And it's like this weird dual function song where she's half playing the actress in Superbia at the workshop, and then it melds into her talking about her relationship with Jonathan. Yeah. And so I got to meet the woman who put that song into the show, into Tick Tick Boom for Susan. And she was like, you did an incredible justice, and he's so proud of you. I know it. And I was just like, how do you take that information in? Yeah, I don't know. But I felt really in my bag, which was awesome. It's an amazing feeling to have. And
especially because it's been a couple years since you were in the theater world. All to step back in and still feel like you're in your bag is really cool.
Yeah, I would just, it was the right thing to do at the right time for me, which is really cool. And I've had like, you know, some opportunities come out of it, which is also fucking sick. So I'm just like, I remember, I think I texted you this actually, where I was like, or maybe my mom, I don't know. I was just walking home from rehearsal and I was like, damn, I'm so happy. Yeah. Like, I'm so happy. Yeah. I just gotta really like live in just being like, this is really cool. Yeah. And I met some really awesome people, and yeah, it was just awesome. I just felt like, I just felt in my bag, and I felt like,
I think it's cool too, just on a level of, you decide to step away from the theater world because you don't feel like it's happening for you. You don't feel like you fit into it, and you kind of carve out your own space and do your own thing. But like thinking about like what Matt was talking about in his episode, where it's like everything that I have gotten has come from something I created, and seeing that like once you lean into something that you can create, Daisy becomes a machine of its own and is growing. And that is what brings you back into being able to like step into the theater world again and feel successful, feel in your bag, feel like you didn't miss a beat.
Elle Morgan Lee said something to me like that's like second or third day of rehearsal. We were having this long conversation about sort of the state of the industry and whatever. And she said, you have a freedom that only comes from someone that's taken a break or stepped away. Yeah. And I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Because I do feel that freedom. And now I only work for and with people. I have the opportunity now, not because I like, you know, have a lot of success in theater or whatever, and people are just reaching out to me, although that does happen to me sometimes, which I feel very fortunate for. But I only take things that I know that I like who is doing it. Like I will always work for Michael Breslin whenever he asks me to do anything. I met him doing a reading of his new show. It's called The Last Bimbo of the Apocalypse. It's having a full production at Signature. It opens in May. Which I'm so thrilled about. Absolutely brilliant writing, brilliant directing. I'm so excited to see it. But I met him doing that. And then so to have him call me for something like this is like, yeah, it feels, you know, maybe perhaps trivial or perhaps stupid or whatever, like to do this concert. But it was so the opposite of that to me.
I don't think that it feels trivial. I think it also just comes down to like how it's only trivial if you decide it's trivial.
I completely agree.
I think of that in any part of life too. Like whether it is at the 92nd Street Y or it's at a off Broadway theater or it's in like,
it does not matter.
Yeah.
And something that my dear friend Emily Fink said to me recently that I love, it's like a credo that she lives by very strongly, and you can tell, is that she said, if you care about greatness, care about greatness. And it's like so simple, but what she means is just that it doesn't matter where that greatness is, what's surrounding it, whatever. If you say that you care about greatness when you consume anything, when you consume theater, when you consume film, whatever, you have to hold yourself to that same standard, because a lot of the time nobody else is going to do that. And I could have I had the thought a couple times where I'm like, are people going to think I'm like dumb for like posting a lot about this? And then I was like, I don't give a fuck.
No.
This is important to me and I care about it, and I'm going to give it my best, and I'm going to work to the best of my ability.
And I also think like caring what people perceive about you posting about something, like I think that's a waste of energy or
I
like
completely
mental
agree.
space,
I mean,
especially
yes,
on a level.
It's a thought that goes and comes.
Yeah, but I wouldn't give too much weight to it, especially because like from all of the reports back of people I know who saw the show, loved you in it.
Thank you.
Loved it. Said it was iconic.
Thanks.
Jamie raised her hand.
Jamie was there.
And
Also,
so
like,
yeah, it's not worth like even trying to worry about what other people think of it, because the people who saw it loved it.
Thank you. And it also came to me in a very, very interesting time, because for people who don't know, Tick Tick Boom is about him turning 30 and not having achieved any of the things that he wanted to achieve. And that used to be a very foreign concept to me, as 30 felt very, very, very far away. And now 30 is fast approaching. And I have done a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish, which is amazing, but there's a lot that I haven't done. And hearing some of these words as if truly as if they were hearing them for the first time again was so pivotal to me, like in some way, like literally just being like, Kate or wings, which do you prefer? I'm like, oh my God, ask the birds, like I'm like, I don't know, something about it really hit me differently. And I think it's just because of like where I'm at in my life.
Yeah. Well, it is amazing how those things, especially stuff that we grew up on when we were like 15, obsessed with it.
And then you hit it at the actual time you're supposed to, and you're like, oh my God.
Well, and especially if you haven't touched it in 5-10 years, and then you come back to it and you're like, oh my God.
I thought I knew what this was about. And it turns out I actually didn't, because now I know what it's about.
Yeah, like there was something real enough in it for me at 15 when I got it, or I thought I got it, or I loved it. But it is different when you're like, oh no, I have the life experience that actually matches this now, or understand where it comes from.
Yeah. And it was great. Like I said, we did a lot of it out of context, and then there were moments that we put it into context. Yeah. And there was like a section of the show that we did where we did life support which was like, Gordon, how do you feel today? Instead of into another day, which is like no day but today. We did it into will I lose my dignity, into without you, which goes directly into I'll cover your reprise, which is how it goes in the show. And so it was funny. We'd always joke that like in that section we were like dropped in. Yeah. Like all of a sudden you're like dropped in. Like a lot of it, like I said, was out of context, and you didn't have to kind of understand the context of the show. But that section in particular was like we were dropped into like Rent. It was right. Everyone was playing the part they should be playing. You know what I mean? Like it was very dropped. And that was so moving to me for some reason. Like I just was like, oh yeah, like this is why I kind of fell in love with this in the first place. And that particularly that section of the show I think is probably my favorite section of the show. I think I'll Cover Your Reprise is probably my favorite song, other than literally Happy New Year, which is the opening of Act 2. But I just felt really grateful to be there. And it was also very cool to have two people, both Adam Cantor and Damone Serafine, who did those roles on Broadway. And I was, 12 when it closed. So I never saw it, and I never got the opportunity to like be in for it. And so to get to do that like moment dropped into the show with them playing those parts is like so crazy. It's like the only opportunity that I would get to do that. Yeah. So it was really awesome. Like I just was really grateful to be there, and in the really true sense of the word. And I can't say that this, and this is the first time I'm going to talk about this publicly, I think, but I can't say that this does not completely align with where I'm at in my sobriety. For those of you who don't know, I'm completely sober as of 38 days ago.
We are celebrating Keaton's sobriety, though.
Yeah, I have 38 days, which is amazing. And I feel incredibly just like sort of overwhelmed with gratitude. And I think that feeling of being like, I'm so happy right now comes only with my sobriety. Yeah. I don't believe that I would have had that feeling were I not sober. Because my addiction took away those moments in like a cloud of smoke, sort of.
Well, it is interesting too. I was just talking about this with another friend of mine who is also thinking about doing the big sober, just like the
big sober.
Well,
yeah.
that's how he referred to it. It was just like the real big sober, because he'll do stretches or like take time off.
So did
But he was saying, like, because I was just talking to him about needing ways that we can celebrate accomplishments, because he's accomplished a lot but has not found great ways to celebrate it, and just being like,
it's hard.
And he was like, yeah, I don't really know ways to celebrate without having a drink.
Oh my god, I just had this problem in LA.
Yeah, and it is having to rewire your brain, but also then to just sit in and celebrate the moment without it having to be okay or pop in a bottle or whatever.
And sometimes the only thing that you really need is to sit. I mean, in my experience at least, is to sit in that moment of like, oh my god, I'm happy right now.
Yeah,
I'm fucking psyched, you know? And I think that feeling, alcohol and drugs, but you know, in my case, alcohol, does an incredible job of pretending to be helpful in those moments, convincing you that it's being helpful, and it's not. But it does a really good job of pretending like it, and so it's very difficult to get to a place where and I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not there where I don't think about having a drink every time I'm excited, every time I'm sad, every time I'm whatever. But the hard part, I think, I mean, there's a lot of hard parts, but the hardest part for me is getting to a place where I can name the thing that's coming, that the craving is coming in the form of, whether it's loneliness or betrayal or, you know, pure sadness or anger or resentment or any of those things, because it's really hard to face those, and most people don't. And so when you take away the thing that helps you not face those things, it becomes very, very clear. And it's hard. But we're out here doing it. And yeah, I don't think I would have had that experience with this show had I not been sober.
Yeah.
And there were like so many weird, I feel like, this is so woo-woo, but I do feel like I get signs like all the time, whether it's from like God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, that I'm on the right path. Because we did a section from the woman that wrote the book to this show that I did, is named Elizabeth Addison. Shout out. She's amazing. And she writes she's writing a musical called Chasing Grace about recovery, because she is a creative recovery coach.
Okay.
And the last 3 words of the song that we sang are serenity, courage, wisdom. And I clocked it during the read through, but I was like, oh, maybe it's just like, I don't know, serenity prayer can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
But then she kind of explained it, and I was like, oh my god, like total, just like dropped in the right place at the right time moment. And I've had conversations with people that are thinking about getting sober, like in some of those spaces, and been like, yep, I'm here because of this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy when those things happen. Like, it happens to me a lot, where I'll have a thought of like, you know, whatever, like in LA, for example, like it was the first time I traveled sober, and that was really hard for me. Because I fucking hate flying, and I get.
Are you someone who normally would get pretty drunk to fly?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't get drunk to do most things, but I am a very nervous flyer. The airport is a trigger for a lot of people because it is very, very nerve-wracking, obviously. But it wasn't so much the airport. I think I've flown sober a couple times just because of like whatever I was doing. I didn't want to drink or whatever. Didn't stop me every time, I'll tell you that much. But it was more that when we were in LA, when we were done working, I wanted to celebrate, and I didn't know how to do that.
Got it.
And I almost called, I was going to call someone, a sober friend of mine, and literally 2 minutes before I was about to get on the phone with him, he texted me, are you doing okay? Apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, thank fucking God. I was like, his spidey senses were tingling.
Yeah.
I think he probably knew I was traveling. And, you know, talking about it gives it far less power. And this is, like I said, the first time I've been like, pretty publicly like open about it. I posted like I think when I had 30 days, I posted like my like 12-step thing on my Instagram. So people have been like, how many days you have or whatever, which is really cool. But it's just such a different experience, and talking about it publicly can feel like a lot of pressure, because then everybody knows that you are working this thing out, and you know, you might slip and fall, but it's okay, it's all a part of it. So I want to be open, and I also like want to be a source for people who are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because it is terrifying. It's so scary.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I've never met somebody who's gotten sober that's regretted it. And I've never met somebody that didn't almost immediately see, not to say there are not hard days, because there are, the benefits.
Well, I mean, yeah,
gifts.
Just on a pure health psychology level, like,
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's fucking bad for you.
drinking is so bad for you. And if you were especially consistently drinking and do it, like, it makes sense. You would see.
You're gonna feel it, and you're gonna see, like, you're just gonna see you finally have the ability, which is really truly, I think, what most people are looking for in this life, to feel the beauty of it and to feel the happiness and whatever. And yeah, you know what, sometimes when you feel that, the immediate thing is like, I should have a drink. And it's like, and then you don't.
Yeah.
And you still feel happy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really, it's been a crazy month. Sorry to divert this conversation into that, but I was going to talk about it.
That's what this conversation really is, though. It's just kind of an update as to where we're at.
Yeah. So, I've been doing that, getting sober.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. You know, I'm feeling fucking great, honestly. Sometimes it's really hard, but for the most part, it's been pretty great.
I'm glad.
Thanks.
It's worth celebrating.
Thank you.
If you are watching right now, you should go celebrate or congratulate Keaton in some kind of capacity.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate everyone's support, and it's been really cool. Yeah. And do you want to talk about it?
I'll talk a little bit about my month.
Okay.
I have been living out of a suitcase for about a little over a month now, I think, which has been super fun for me. I recently went through a breakup. We don't need to get into the details of that, but it happened.
No.
And am kind of dealing with just the aftermath of that.
It's a big life change.
Yeah, and just figuring out what my living situation is going to be like and everything else. But in the middle of that, it kind of worked out that my job, in which, like, basically everyone who works for the company I work for works out of LA except for me. And they asked if I would come out to LA initially for like a week or so to just do like basically like a hardcore in-office edit kind of week.
Totally.
Because we have a big backlog. And so I went, and then...
That's why he missed my show, for the people wondering.
Yes, I was really sad to miss Keaton's triumphant return to the New York theater scene. But at least I was like in a hotel. I wasn't on people's couches. And so that was nice. And then I was able to go up and visit my family for a couple days. And then my company had asked me to come back to LA. So I was there for an extra couple days. I shot something with Hannah, our friend, which was fun.
Amazing. Yeah, you got a little double whammy out there.
So that was nice. And then now I've been back for like a week or
I just
so.
will say, like, you know, not that my opinion is particularly important or perhaps wanted, but I think it's been really I've just been really proud of the way that you've handled this from the jump, because it's been really, I know, very difficult on several levels, but you've been doing what you need to do. Yeah, it's been a weird thing. It's also interesting going out to LA with my company, because they have been trying to get me to move to LA for a little while. Again, I'm the only real remote employee. And they asked me in the new year to move, and I said no. They asked me again when I was out there in the, like, right after the new year, right before I left, they asked me to move, and I said no. And they asked me again while I was out there. And so it's a weird thing, because I do like being out there. I love being in the office, but it is a lot of time and energy while I was there. I probably worked like between 50 and 60 hours the weeks I was there, which is cool. It's more responsibility. It's the opportunity to be more important, to make more money, to really step into that. And I think I fit into that. But I also really like my life in New York. There is something about the remote work of it where, like, I don't have as much responsibility. I don't make as much money, but I do have a lot more freedom and flexibility to do things I want to take other freelance opportunities, to audition for stuff, to do stuff like this. And so it is interesting to kind of like weigh those pros and cons. And like also going through a major life shift, I know for myself, I'm not one to make more than one major life shift at a time in a couple months span. So I think also, like, a lot of people's instinct would be to run away and just go and just take that opportunity or whatever. And I think it's really cool that you're considering all of these things, because running away from the problem is never the answer, and it actually doesn't usually help.
Well, yeah, and it's not like I
Sometimes
wouldn't
it
be
does.
running towards something. Like, I do like LA. I have always known, because my family's on the West Coast, and because I actually do think I would do quite well in LA as a city, industry-wise,
Totally.
work-wise.
Yeah.
There is a pull and appeal there, and I do like my company. I like being out there, but I also do really like New York. I also know, as coming from the West Coast, that if I make that move back,
It's out. Yeah,
it's
over.
done. I'm probably not coming back here unless I
Both
have
of
a
our
tremendous
parents are
amount
there
of money.
too, which is like the hard part, at least for me.
Yeah, it's really hard for me, especially as my parents get older. Like, being able to I took a 45-minute flight from LA and got picked
you
up by my
flew?
dad. Yeah, I flew up just to go see them
How
for
long is the drive?
like 5 hours.
Oh no,
It's not bad. You can do it in a day, and you could do it like in a weekend, drive up and drive back. But it was a 45-minute flight that cost less than $100. Like,
amazing.
the round trip was like $150 to get up to the Bay Area and back. And so, like, that convenience, as opposed to
Your brother
anytime I'm going.
just got engaged.
Yes. So my little brother happened to be in California at the time too. That's part of the reason I
Shout out
went
Dean
there.
and Kayla.
Yeah, shout out Dean and Kayla.
Congrats.
Congratulations. But
Being close to stuff like that, I mean, is like
it's
nice.
just
Yeah.
really nice. And otherwise,
it.
I'm going home twice a year.
I get
Because it's a 6-hour flight each way and a time difference and everything else. I'm going for 7-8 days at a time just to like make the trip worth it.
Right. No,
As opposed to
same.
like, I'm popping up for the weekend, gonna hang out with everyone, spend a couple days.
You have to come down to my parents every time you fly home just to make the trip worth it.
But so I don't know. There's a lot that is nice about being out there. It was beautiful leaving New York when it was 18
Okay,
degrees
when I got there,
and coming and it was 65 in LA.
Except the day that I saw you on Monday, it rained every single day.
Oh, that sucks.
I was like, "What is this curse
I
God
got
has put
beautiful
upon
weather.
me?"
But and then by the time I got back to New York, it was spring, which I mean, it might still be fall, spring, number 2.
spring.
We might hit
Winter number 2.
one more time before we get into real spring. But like spring,
Did the groundhog see his shadow?
I don't know.
I don't know which one is which, but
It was longer winter again. Yeah, I think he's had that like get scared.
Fuck the groundhog.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, Punxsutawney Phil, I do believe saw his shadow, but I also think he sees his shadow like every year now. I think he comes up,
I think
he sees a bunch of cameras, and he's like, oh, and freaks the fuck out and goes back in his tunnel. Like, I don't think it's his shadow. I think it's the fact that there's like 400 people that go to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
Is
and, like,
Punxsutawney Phil the same groundhog all the time, or has it been several groundhogs?
It has to have been several groundhogs. There's no way that Jamie, can you look up groundhog life expectancy for us really quick? Because there's no way it's that long. I do know that there was a news story this year about how Punxsutawney Phil has multiple partners, is a little polyamorous.
Polyamorous king. Hello. Polyamorous king. Punxsutawney Phil.
Because there was like, I just saw whatever week that was happening, like some joking TikTok that went viral about how Punxsutawney Phil.
Oh, Jamie has the life expectancy on a
life
groundhog.
expectancy of a groundhog is.
Well, the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club claims that Punxsutawney Phil is over 130 years old, living on an elixir of life.
Okay, so they claim he's immortal.
In reality, I want you guys to guess.
I'm gonna guess 12 years is the.
I'm gonna say more like a dog, like 18.
In reality, groundhogs in the wild typically live 3 to 6 years,
Groundhogs in the wild live 3 to 6 years.
and those in captivity can live up to 10 years.
Those in captivity live up to 10. So yeah, they've been through probably 15 groundhogs at least, conservatively.
Something about this feels very, very sinister.
So well, here's the thing.
But Punxsutawney has the elixir of life.
So they say Punxsutawney Phil has the elixir of life. This is what Jamie just told us, which means like he's either drinking like adrenochrome in the blood of babies. He's got that like Clinton hookup.
Fucking start talking about adrenochrome on this podcast.
How else is Punxsutawney Phil living 130 years?
God.
God has ordained this groundhog, and he will tell us when it is winter.
It's like, why can't the groundhog do something more important?
If
he's gonna live forever, I wish he could like cure cancer.
No, but here's the thing: he is a god to those people. If you ever see, like, they do a whole festival. There's like, I mean, you think about Groundhog Day,
the movie
film,
musical.
the film.
You don't want to talk about the musical?
No.
Okay.
But also like, when we were doing submissions for our company, someone did a Groundhog's Day submission, and it's actually a great
I remember
video.
you telling me about this.
But it is very funny because it's like hundreds of people show up from like the surrounding Pennsylvania areas.
And why is that?
to see if to really to get drunk, but like to celebrate if the groundhog saw his shadow. It's a party. Like why do people come
and
out?
where are they getting the groundhogs exactly?
They have one groundhog. He's lived 130 years, Keaton. He has the elixir of life.
Oh yeah.
They found the one chosen and ordained by God.
Oh
I
yeah.
just said that.
Pay attention to the pod, please.
I can't believe we're talking about a fucking groundhog in the pod right now.
But here's the thing. It is more likely they've been through at least 15,
That's what I'm
more
saying,
likely
where-
like 30 groundhogs.
That's what I'm saying. Where are they getting them?
They're
are they
breeding
breeding them?
Well, and apparently this Punxsutawney Phil is getting active.
Good for him, I guess.
Good for him.
There have been like 3 or 4 people in my life whose birthdays were on Groundhog Day.
That must mean something.
Isn't that weird?
You should go to the festival.
I don't want to.
I wish to go to the festival.
Maybe we do a live pod shoot next year at live from
Groundhog
Punxsutawney.
Day.
We get Phil on the pod, or I know there's like handlers. Like he has handlers because it's
Well,
like
of course,
the
'cause
holy
he's
groundhog.
He's famous. He's the Pope of groundhogs.
I wonder if
He's the groundhog Pope.
that is like gets into the false idols territory mentioned
Oh my
in the Ten
God.
Commandments. Like if it is blasphemous to, I guess, like what's Pennsylvania? Are Quakers still a thing?
Quakers? Yeah.
Do we think it's Quakers elevating
Jamie,
the
can you
groundhog?
look up if Quakers are still a thing?
I love that, especially because her name is also Jamie. It just reminds me of like fucking Joe Rogan, who's like, Jamie, look that up. Like,
Oh, is his producer named Jamie too?
Yes.
That's so funny. Is
And
it a woman?
No, it's a guy.
Oh.
But it is just like how they look up any.
That's what most podcast producers do. We're like, can you fact check us on
Yeah.
that? I would love to go to the Groundhog Day festival. I also recently watched, along the similar lines of false idolhood, I recently watched Conclave. Incredible film, by the way. Ray Fiennes, I do believe, should have won the Oscar.
Shout out John Lithgow too.
Yeah.
And about to be Dumbledore. He just got cast as Dumbledore in this HBO
On
show.
Broadway?
No, the HBO show. They're doing the HBO reboot of Harry Potter, and John Lithgow is going to play Dumbledore, which I think is crazy because he's like 80, and that's going to be 8 or 9
He
years.
does not look 80.
Yeah, he's
looks
on the older
really
side.
good.
He's an
And
incredible actor. Like
He's really, wait, who does he fucking play in Conclave? I mean, I know I can picture him, but I can't remember like the character. Anyway, fucking fantastic film. Oh my God. I loved it.
Quakers still exist.
Quakers still exist, according to Jamie.
Now more frequently known as the Religious Society of Friends.
They're now known as the Religious
Oh, that
Society
is
of Friends.
so much worse.
That's so wild.
Full community with approximately 400,000 members.
400,000 Quakers worldwide, apparently. So
That's
good
not a
for you
lot.
guys. I wonder if they are the ones elevating this holy groundhog, though. Is this disrespectful to Quakerism?
All right, I'll look up.
Are Quakers
Are
associated
Quakers
with the
responsible or
groundhog?
associated with Groundhog's Day? Because I know they are both associated with Pennsylvania. And that is a loose enough connection for me.
To
that-
wonder if perhaps the Quakers
Yeah.
are elevating the groundhog.
Otherwise, it's like Big Steel or something else.
No,
And so,
there's no direct association between the Quakers and the
thank you for the fact check. Jamie has given us there is no direct association. But direct association implies there might be an underhanded association.
I think it's just like a Pennsylvania thing.
Okay.
Just a Pennsylvania
both
thing.
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's more
German.
Groundhog Day originated with
You know, and what is
Pennsylvania Dutch community.
what is Pennsylvania Dutch were the Quakers.
No, they're the Amish. They're different.
Oh, damn it.
They're like the.
So the Amish are responsible for the groundhog.
That was gonna be my next question. Was are the Amish
Oh
responsible
yeah,
for the groundhog?
Jamie, look that up. Look that up.
The Amish are, I believe, they speak Pennsylvania Dutch. Is the language that they speak.
Got it. Okay.
No, it's Groundhog Day has roots in Pennsylvania Dutch culture. The Amish as a religious group do not celebrate it.
Okay, the
Oh,
Amish
they
do not
don't.
celebrate it.
Oh,
That
maybe-
makes sense to me.
Maybe they feel
It's
it's.
not a religious holiday.
Because it's not a religious holiday. Got it. Okay.
And is there? My question is just sort of like, is there anyone who believes that it should be?
Hey, how about you guys use your phones?
I'm not looking
that,
it up. That's not how this works.
That's not how this works. I'm so sorry.
No, you don't have to look that up. It's just my my ponder.
Well,
of
there
whole
are
situation.
definitely people like I remember the video I saw in Punxsutawney. There are 4 handlers who are like the holy bodyguards of the, and they
That's
do
what I'm saying.
raise it up.
It's giving Pope.
It is giving like pagan ritual in some way.
Well, pagan ritual is cooler than Catholicism ultimately.
Mm.
My thought on why I brought up the Pope was because I was watching Conclave, and I was like, I wasn't raised Catholic. I was raised in like Christian.
Shout out,
like,
shout out,
were
shout
you
out
raised,
trauma. Yeah.
Were you raised Catholic?
Mhm.
Did you get like confirmed?
Yeah, but my family,
What?
my dad is like especially not
Like
religious,
Roman
and my
Catholic?
mom, Irish Catholic, but
interesting. Because
went to
your
an
last
Irish
name's
Catholic church.
Scatini.
Yeah, but the Italian side of my family, like, is very Italian, but has a little Irish, and then the Irish side of my family was very Irish with a little Italian.
Oh, interesting.
But the church near us was
Didn't
an
like
Irish
someone in
Catholic
your
church.
family invent bag salad?
Well, so yeah, fun fact: there are many Scatinis that have been successful. You know, I'm not really directly, I'm directly related, but not that. Like, adjacently, there's randomly a Luigi Scatini in Italy who was a filmmaker.
Luigi.
In like the 40s, he directed a movie that Buster Keaton was in. Unfortunately,
Not my relative.
he is
Sadly.
long dead, and his daughter, who was also in the entertainment industry, is long dead. So I have not
bummer.
been able to pull any of those nepo strings, unfortunately. But then the other side of the Scatinis that ended up in California, like, split off. They were in Salinas, California, which is huge farm country. It's like where all the artichokes are made, where like a lot of different things are grown.
Shout out to your family who does artichokes.
Part of my family, like extended on my grandpa's side, are from Salinas. That's where my grandpa was born. Like, my wing of the family ended up in San Francisco, and that other wing of the family got really big into the agriculture world. So like one of the women, Lucy Scatini, who I've never met, I don't know that group of Scatinis really at all.
She says it.
Invented salad in a bag. So
bag salad
is making. I know she made a huge bag.
That's fucking awesome. I love bag salad.
And I know that there's part of that family too, because one of my videos after it went viral, I got reached out to by a random Scatini in Salinas, who's now like really big in the weed industry.
Oh, cool.
And like at the time I was still a big stoner. I was like, damn, maybe there's like some opportunity for collaboration here when I was doing like influencer stuff. Yeah. But I don't really know that side of my family. It's not like,
I just love the bag salad antidote.
Yeah. I know that there is money on that side of the family. It's not like money I would ever see if they died.
Right. Right.
I want them to all live happy lives. They're making bag salad, so I'm sure they're healthy. But
dude, bag salad is fucking awesome. What an awesome invention.
Yeah, crazy thing to like have it be
like it's salad, but put it in a bag.
Yeah.
I don't know. We started talking about that.
We were on.
We were talking about Catholicism.
Yeah.
You were raised.
Yeah. So no, I was raised Catholic, but mostly my mom thought it was important that we were raised in an organized religious structure. But she basically like would drop us off on Sundays, and the day we got confirmed, she was like, "It's up to you if you still want to go to church."
No offense, Janice. I think that's smart. I think that's a cool fucking way to do it.
And like parents,
she let you decide.
Her parents and
you decide.
My dad's mom especially were more religious and raised in more religious environments.
I was raised like, I guess the closest denomination would be like Methodist, like Christian Methodist kind of. But the Catholic mass of it all was never a part of. I was like
I've
doing
been at
like
many a long Catholic
like
mass
Hillsong United kind of Christian. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean,
like,
Catholicism is more built on like guilt versus. It seems like the worship of Punxsutawney Phil is more hopeful in nature. I would say, maybe not.
Well, I don't know. I just don't get the Pope of it all, and I'm like, I really don't, and that's so confusing to me because I'm like, isn't that like kind of against? But I guess Catholicism is all about like the saints and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
they can like achieve sainthood. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's confusing.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I really understood the lore of it. I don't know that there was a time where I could maybe explain that to you, like at the peak of CCD and education of it, but I also was never that invested. I kind of knew I was going to be out at 14.
I think it's like it's confusing to me on a lot of levels, but I think the one thing that gets me is like this movie is about what happens when the Pope dies, right? Where the cardinals come together.
Spoilers: the Pope dies.
Yeah, it's like the whole. You know that in the first like 10 seconds of the film.
No, I'm just fucking with you. But
well, right. I mean, you're right. It's like the Pope's like he's not like he's not of God. He's just a guy.
He is a guy.
So basically, like what happens, I guess, I didn't know this before, is they have a conclave, which is where they go to the Sistine Chapel. All the cardinals that are, I don't know. I guess all of the cardinals, ever.
Yeah, come and like vote, right? Or they
vote. Yeah. So they go into like they get sequestered basically, and they vote on the new pope.
Is this about a real pope getting?
No, this is a fictional pope. Yeah.
Okay, it's not about like the woke pope.
No, but it is sort of a part of it. The woke pope. Yeah. Stanley Tucci plays like the woke candidate basically. Okay. And he's like, I believe in the reform of the church. Whatever.
Shout out the woke pope, who is, I believe, currently the pope still.
Woke pope.
Could not say his name, but I'm pretty sure that there is a part of the world that refers to him as woke pope, and it's not just me.
And yeah, he is. I know, which is actually weird because it's like this movie came out and he's like not doing well.
One at a time.
One at a time. Yeah. It's not a Punxsutawney Phil situation where he has the elixir of life.
Well, yeah, he's definitely not immortal. He might be drinking the blood of the youth.
It is not a Punxsutawney Phil situation. Yeah, so they go into a conclave where they vote basically on the new pope, and it's like they vote until they have a 2/3 majority. So it's like anyone can kind of put themselves up for the papacy, and then you vote. And I will not give away the film. Incredible twist at the end. Absolutely just brilliant filmmaking. And also a beautiful movie. Like just beautiful shot. Like, oh my God, it's so good. But yeah, I was like so confused by like, I was like, wait, so okay. I thought the Pope was like, you know, touched by God. But like it's just these dudes voting on it. What?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like, because a lot of religion,
someone has to have
the
like a
tenets
revelation.
are of it. Well, but the tenets of religion are based on faith, and so
Sort of.
like, if there was a way that you could verify someone was touched by God, everyone would be religious. Because
So
if there was a means to just be like, oh yeah, that guy's got God's touch.
Oh yeah, that guy. That's the Pope.
Yeah, that you haven't met
I
the
don't know.
Pope.
It's just really interesting to me. I was like, what the hell?
Mhm.
I was like, I asked Danny because we were watching on the plane together. Like we press play at the same time, and I was like, is this because she's also confirmed Catholic, and confirmed Catholic.
Oh yeah, bro, I'm confirmed.
Confirmed Catholic. I was like, is this real? Like, is this what happened? She was like, I think so.
I doubt they would make that big a
No.
movie about it and not be real.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, but it's like apparently like the whole thing is that this is the only like media that they would make something about what happens inside the conclave because it's like the most secretive event in the world is picking the new pope.
Well, yeah, and they do like the white smoke or whatever when they picked a new pope or the
It's red smoke.
red smoke.
White
got
smoke when they finish the day when they haven't picked one, and then
Got
red smoke
it.
at the end.
Mm.
I believe. To let the Vatican know.
I love that this pod started as just an update pod. We were getting
Now we're
into
talking
our
about
life.
Catholicism.
We got into the process of picking a pope, whether or not Punxsutawney Phil is
has the elixir
immortal.
of life.
And that's what you get if you really are a slipper through and through.
You're a real ass slipper.
If you are here for the week in, week out entertainment that we are committed to giving you, you're gonna get nuggets like this where we just go off the rails. And,
about fucking conclave. You guys should watch it.
and like somehow, somewhere, I'm gonna
my
make a
God.
banger clip about Punxsutawney Phil out of this.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know exactly.
I do have
how.
to say before we end. Are we ending the podcast? Is that what's
We
happening?
can, but also if you want to keep going,
I have
will
to say.
keep
I
talking
have to say
about
one more thing.
Punxsutawney Phil or the Pope. Or
It's not about either of those things. It's actually
Okay.
completely unrelated.
All right.
It was just about another movie that I watched.
Mhm.
I think I texted you about this. I watched Sing Sing on
Oh
the
right.
plane. Oh,
I've been
my
wanting to watch
God.
Sing Sing.
Oh my God. Such an unbelievable movie. Coleman Domingo is doing the Lord's work, perhaps the Pope's work, perhaps Punxsutawney Phil's work. I don't know. But he is doing
Whatever higher power.
whatever higher power you believe in.
Be it God.
Coleman
be
Domingo,
it.
he is working through Coleman Domingo in that film. It's about, do you know what it's about? It's about a theater program. in Sing Sing.
Theater program in
In
prison.
Sing Sing, yeah. So I go through this whole movie thinking it's just like, and I've just had this sort of amazing theatrical
Revelatory theater
Yeah.
experience. Theater changes lives.
And I'm thinking like, oh my God, like theater really is so powerful. And I believe that. I do believe that. And like what a special, like, oh my God, like it's just like when you understand that and when you get to do it, it's like such a gift.
Mhm.
Like it really, really fucking is. And I sound like that, like people making fun of actors on TikTok right now the way I'm talking about.
No, I've heard literally everyone I know who's seen the movie really liked it. I've been hearing about it because it was at the San Francisco Film Festival last year.
Yeah. It
And
was
my
like
parents
I
saw
think it
it
was like
and were like, you
relatively,
have to see this
might
movie.
have been A24, I don't know, but it was like relatively. They made it, I think, not a lot of money.
No, definitely.
So I go through this whole film just being like, oh, this is amazing, like so beautiful. I'm crying. Like you get to watch Coleman Domingo do Hamlet briefly, which is just worth the fucking watch anyway.
Yeah.
And like you get to watch him do To Be or Not to Be, and it's just
Cool.
like, oh, and then somebody else does it later, and it's somehow better.
Wow.
It's unreal. But I go through this whole movie and be like, oh, who wrote this movie? They must have like a connection to this, whatever. I find out at the end that it is entirely a true story.
Yeah, it's the
And
guy.
played by the men who were in Sing Sing,
Yeah.
who made this program. And I was just a disaster. I was like, oh my God, like what the fuck? Because it's really just about the way that theater can change you
Mhm.
as a person and can give you life and can give you all these things. And I don't think it's specific to theater. I think it's art in general, obviously. But these men who have just been beaten down like forever, their whole lives.
Well, and are stuck in a system that is designed to make you feel like
entrap
you have
you.
no hope,
Yes.
and to also keep you in that system like that.
Oh, they talk about this so much in the film. Like, just like don't believe what they want you to believe, which is that you belong here, because you don't. And they find their way out of it through theater, and a lot of them do get out. And it's like amazing to watch these men who like are like, you know, convicted felons who spent years and years and years in Sing Sing be able to help people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's incredible. It really made me want to teach in prison. I've been wanting to do that for a really, really long time.
Yeah, they used to have a program. I'm sure they still have it, but there was a program that when we were at Michigan did like improv basis stuff with the local prison, and it's really cool. There's a lot of those programs that exist. There's also I know a couple people who do stuff from when I did that Theater of Change thing at Columbia. A couple of the people involved there do that in the New York prison system.
Yeah, I would really like to do that. I know that it is, from the research that I've done, it is difficult when you have to like leave the state and come back a lot, just because of like security protocol.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would have to be here for like quite some time, and I wouldn't want to start something and then leave.
But
like,
I
that
do.
Would feel.
If you decide you want to do it and have a decent amount of time, I know one of the people who runs one of those programs.
I would love to do that. It is so like, I mean,
I think they're pretty hungry for people who are willing to do it too, just because.
Just because.
Yeah.
And it just it made me so fucking angry about just like, I mean, not that I wasn't already, but it just put it in front of my face in such a way where I was like, wow, oh my God, the prison industrial complex is such a fucking disaster. This country is a joke. The fact that we have like allowed people to feel this way and continue to keep them in the system for basically the entirety of our history as a country is just so fucking devastating. And I'm like, I feel like I need to connect with these people like one-on-one. Like, I feel like I need to like, I'm so lucky that I feel this way and I have my freedom to, you know, have these revelatory experiences. That I'm like, the only thing that I should do with that, the only thing that should propel me forward is to try to give those to someone else. Because I do have the ability to do that. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you're an artist, please watch it, because
Sing Sing or Conclave first, as someone who has not watched either.
I think Sing Sing. Obviously, Conclave, amazing. Will make you like, you know, question your faith. But
and then let us know if you have watched this far. If you would like us to do a live show in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania next year, we could try and interview Phil. We could try and interview Phil's keepers and see what they're hiding. We could try and steal the elixir of life. There are many options for how we could conduct that episode,
and it's up to you.
And
viewer.
we will sell tickets if there's enough interest.
They're obviously going to say yes.
Yeah, but there's no way enough people will say yes that we could generate interest. And if there are, then we're doing a show in Punxsutawney. That's just what it is.
I want to interview the groundhog.
I also want to interview the groundhog. I want to get a scientist in to verify his age.
I want to interview the
We're going to
keepers.
expose this whole
Find
shit.
out what they're
We're
hiding.
blowing this shit up. Punxsutawney is not going to keep getting away with
Punxsutawney
it.
Phil, we're coming for you.
Yeah, it's a racket, and it's a fake religion. I'm going to stop talking before I get fucking whacked by the Phil heads out there. Anyway, this has been such an interesting and fun glass slipping for you today. So I hope you enjoyed it.
I wish you all the best, for real.
Yeah. Till next time.